Chosen one, somebody who played you is drowning in regret right now. The universe has a twisted sense of humor when it comes to showing people exactly what they lost when it's too late to get it back easily. This player didn't realize how admired you were by others, and now that revelation is destroying them from the inside out. It's about discovering that while they were treating you like background noise, everyone else was treating you like the main event. Right now, that person who treated your heart like a game is having a spiritual awakening. But what this player doesn't understand yet is that their awakening isn't random, it's orchestrated. It's the universe's way of showing you something much bigger than just one person's individual blindness. They know at this point that a lot of people want your attention, and you're not giving them any attention when they come toward you now. But this is where the story gets interesting. This is where you discover that what looks like their sudden realization is actually the final piece of a much larger puzzle falling into place. While this person was playing their little games with you, treating you like you were just another option on their roster, something powerful was happening in the spiritual realm. Your energy was ascending, your vibration was rising, and everyone around you started to notice something different about you, something magnetic, something that made them want to be in your presence. You probably felt it too, that shift, that moment when you stopped chasing and started choosing, when you stopped explaining your worth and started embodying it. But what you didn't realize is that this shift wasn't just internal, it was broadcasting outward like a radio signal, attracting people who operate on your frequency while repelling those who don't. Your friends started telling you how much they admired your strength. Strangers started approaching you with genuine interest. People at work started seeking your opinion. Your social media started getting more engagement. Your phone started buzzing with invitations and opportunities. But this wasn't a coincidence. This was orchestration. Every person who started paying attention to you while this player was ignoring you was part of a larger plan. Every opportunity that came your way while they were taking you for granted was preparation for this moment. Every compliment you received while they were giving you mixed signals was building toward this revelation. The universe was creating a mirror for this person to see exactly what they were missing. But more importantly, it was creating a mirror for you to see exactly what you've always been worth. The question is, are you ready to see the full reflection? But this person who had front row seats to your glow-up was too busy playing games to pay attention to the show. They were so focused on keeping you at arm's length that they didn't notice how everyone else was trying to get closer. They were so invested in making you feel ordinary that they missed the memo about you becoming extraordinary. Now they're watching from the sidelines as other people celebrate what they took for granted. They're seeing the comments on your posts. They're hearing through mutual friends about all the opportunities coming your way. They're witnessing your confidence bloom in ways they never supported when they had the chance, and it's eating them alive. Their regret isn't just about losing you. It's about discovering that everyone else could see what they couldn't. It's about realizing that while they were questioning your value, the rest of the world was celebrating it. It's about understanding that their blindness made them the only person in the room who didn't get the joke. This is what happens when someone can't see divine energy, even when it's sitting across from them at dinner. Their blindness wasn't about your light, it was about their spiritual development. Some people are simply not evolved enough to recognize sacred when it's right in front of them. But the universe doesn't waste time on the spiritually underdeveloped. While they were showing their limitations, you were discovering your power. While they were revealing their inability to recognize quality, you were learning what it felt like to be recognized. While they were proving they weren't ready for something real, you were attracting people who were. The universe doesn't waste rare gifts on people who can't recognize them, but it also doesn't hide rare gifts from people who can appreciate them. Your energy found its way to people who were ready to celebrate it, honor it, and reciprocate it. This was never about their approval, this was about their elimination. This person is experiencing what spiritual teachers call scarcity panic. It's what happens when someone realizes they underestimated the value of something they thought would always be available. It's the same energy that makes people want something more when they find out other people want it too. But their panic is perfectly timed. Their desire for you was never really about you. It was about their ego. It was about winning. It was about having something that other people wanted. And now that they see how many people want what they carelessly discarded, their competitive nature is kicking in. But they're playing a game that's already over. They're not embarrassed because they hurt you. They're embarrassed because they look stupid. They're not regretful because they missed out on love. They're regretful because they missed out on bragging rights. They're not pursuing you because they finally see your worth. They're pursuing you because they finally see your market value. The universe orchestrated their scarcity panic for your benefit, not theirs. It's not designed to bring them back into your life. It's designed to show you the difference between someone who chooses you because they value you versus someone who wants you because other people do. Your silence isn't cruelty, it's strategy. Your unavailability isn't game playing, it's governance. Your lack of response isn't revenge, it's recognition of your own power. You've learned something during your time away from this person that they're just beginning to understand. Access to you is earned, not expected. This person had their chance to explore the depths of who you are. They had opportunities to discover your dreams, your fears, your stories, your secrets. They could have been the person who saw you first, who celebrated you loudest, who loved you deepest. Instead, they chose to keep you in the shallow end while they tested other waters. Now they want to dive deep, but you've already moved to a different ocean. You've evolved beyond their frequency. You've ascended past their consciousness level. You've graduated from their grade. And there's no going back to elementary school when you've already earned your PhD. If this message activated your knowing, hype this video to connect with more chosen ones on this journey. The beautiful thing about your spiritual evolution is that it's taught you discernment. You can feel the difference between someone who wants to know your soul versus someone who just wants to possess your body. You can sense the difference between someone who's drawn to your light versus someone who just wants to dim someone else's. Your silence is teaching them what their words never could. It's showing them the value of what they discarded. It's demonstrating the power of what they underestimated. It's revealing the rarity of what they treated as common. But more importantly, your silence is protecting your ascension. In a world full of noise, your silence is your loudest statement. In a culture of constant communication, your unavailability speaks volumes. In a society of instant responses, your lack of response is its own response. You're not playing hard to get, you're being hard to get. There's a difference. In the realm of spiritual law, regret is often a sign that someone has violated natural order. When we treat sacred things as common, when we disrespect divine gifts, when we take rare treasures for granted, the universe has a way of making us feel the weight of our choices. This person's regret is not random, it's cosmic feedback. Their regret is proof of your ascension. People don't regret losing access to ordinary things, they regret losing access to extraordinary things. The intensity of their regret is directly proportional to the magnitude of what they lost. The depth of their embarrassment reflects the height of your value. The urgency of their desperation reveals the rarity of your energy. There's something beautifully poetic about watching someone realize they fumbled something rare. There's divine justice in seeing someone feel embarrassed about choices they made with such confidence. Their embarrassment isn't just personal shame, it's spiritual correction. But the real climax isn't their embarrassment, it's your liberation. It's the moment you realize that their regret has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. It's the moment you understand that their desperation is not your emergency. It's the moment you recognize that their panic is actually your peace. While this person was playing blind, the universe was orchestrating divine appointments. While they were taking you for granted, other people were taking notice. While they were treating you like a backup plan, other people were making you their first choice. Think about all the people who have entered your life or shown up differently since you started honoring your own worth. Think about the opportunities that materialized out of nowhere. Think about the invitations that started coming. Think about the respect that started flowing. This wasn't coincidence. This was orchestration. The universe was building a case for your worth while this person was building a case against it. It was creating evidence of your value while they were creating evidence of their blindness. It was demonstrating your power while they were demonstrating their limitations. Every person who celebrated your growth while this person was ignoring it was sent to teach you something about your own value. Every person who chose you while this person was choosing everyone else was sent to show you what being chosen actually feels like. Every person who made time for you while this person was too busy was sent to demonstrate what genuine interest looks like. You were always admired by others. You were always valued by people with eyes to see. You were always treasured by those with hearts to appreciate. This person's blindness never diminished your light. It only revealed their inability to see in the dark. The universe didn't orchestrate this entire experience just to teach you about your worth. It orchestrated this experience to prepare you for someone who will never need to learn your worth because they'll recognize it immediately. Someone who will see you from day one and never give you reason to doubt their vision. While this person was taking you for granted, you were learning to never settle for being taken for granted again. While they were treating you like an option, you were learning to only accept being someone's priority. While they were making you compete for their attention, you were learning to only give your attention to people who treasure it. Every lesson you learned during their absence is preparing you for someone's presence. Every boundary you develop during their neglect is preparing you for someone's respect. Every standard you raise during their games is preparing you for someone's consistency. The person who's meant for you will never need to see other people want you to realize your value. They'll never need to almost lose you to appreciate you. They'll never need to feel competitive to feel attracted. They'll see your worth from the beginning and honor it consistently. You've outgrown people who need wake-up calls to see what's precious. You've evolved beyond people who need scarcity to feel desire. You've ascended past people who need competition to feel attraction. You're being prepared for someone who operates from abundance, not lack. This player is discovering how admired you were by others. They're not just realizing they lost you, they're realizing they never understood what they had access to in the first place. They're seeing evidence everywhere of how other people viewed you while they were treating you like background noise. Your co-workers were always asking about you when you weren't around. Your friends were always defending you in conversations this player never heard. Your family was always proud of your accomplishments in ways this player never bothered to notice. The barista at your favorite coffee shop always remembered your order and smiled genuinely when you walked in. The neighbor always waved enthusiastically when they saw you. The person at the gym always nodded with respect when you passed by. These weren't random acts of kindness. These were responses to your energy. These were reactions to something magnetic about you that this player was completely blind to. They were so focused on keeping you small in their mind that they missed how large you appeared in everyone else's reality. Now they're hearing stories about you that make them realize they were living in a completely different universe. They're discovering that while they thought you were lucky to have their attention, other people considered them lucky to have yours. They're learning that while they saw you as ordinary, everyone else saw you as remarkable. This player is experiencing what happens when social proof hits like an avalanche. They're suddenly seeing your social media engagement differently. Those likes weren't just random. Those comments weren't just politeness. Those shares weren't just algorithms. Those were genuine responses from people who genuinely appreciated your presence in the digital world. They're noticing how people respond when your name comes up in conversation. They're seeing the way faces light up when someone mentions you. They're hearing the enthusiasm in voices when people talk about spending time with you. They're witnessing the respect in tones when people describe your character. They're realizing that all of this admiration existed while they were with you. All of this appreciation was happening in real time while they were treating you like you were dispensable. All of this recognition was flowing around you like water while they were acting like you were drowning without them. Now this Pleiadian is discovering something that's making their regret even more intense. You were always popular in ways they never bothered to investigate. You were always the person people wanted to invite to gatherings. You were always the one people hoped would show up to events. You were always the friend people called when they needed advice or support, but they never paid attention to your social calendar because they were too busy controlling their access to it. They never noticed how your phone buzzed with invitations because they were too focused on when you were available for them. They never observed how people gravitated toward you in group settings because they were too concerned with being the center of attention themselves. They're now realizing that your popularity wasn't something that developed after they left. It was something that existed despite their presence. You were magnetic before them, during them, and after them. The difference is that now they're finally paying attention to what everyone else always saw. The cruel irony is that your popularity is exactly what's making them desperate now. They're not just missing you, they're missing out on being associated with someone everyone else wants to be around. They're not just regretting their treatment of you, they're regretting their failure to leverage your social value. This player is also discovering the level of respect you command in spaces they never bothered to enter. Your professional reputation was always stellar. Your colleagues always spoke highly of your work ethic. Your boss always trusted your judgment. Your clients always requested you specifically. Your projects always succeeded under your leadership. But they never paid attention to your career victories because they were too busy undermining your confidence in other areas. They never celebrated your professional achievements because they were threatened by your success. They never acknowledged your expertise because they needed to feel superior in the relationship. Now they're hearing about your professional accomplishments through mutual connections. They're learning about promotions you received that they never bothered to celebrate. They're discovering projects you led that they never bothered to understand. They're finding out about recognition you earned that they never bothered to acknowledge. The respect you command in professional spaces is making them realize that their disrespect was an anomaly, not a reflection of your actual worth. Everyone else saw your competence while they saw competition. Everyone else recognized your talent while they felt threatened by it. What's really eating at this player is the discovery of your magnetic field effect. They're realizing that wherever you go, you naturally attract positive attention and genuine connection. This wasn't something you manufactured or faked. This was something authentic about your energy that drew people in. They're remembering social situations where people naturally gravitated toward you, but they interpreted it as luck rather than magnetism. They're recalling conversations where you effortlessly connected with strangers, but they dismissed it as people-pleasing rather than genuine charisma. They're thinking about moments where you commanded rooms without trying, but they attributed it to circumstances rather than presence. Your magnetic field was always active. You were always the person who made conversations more interesting. You were always the one who made gatherings more enjoyable. You were always the presence that elevated the energy in any space you entered. But this player was so focused on dimming your light that they missed how brightly it shone for everyone else. They were so invested in keeping you insecure that they ignored all the evidence of your natural confidence. They were so committed to making you feel ordinary that they blinded themselves to your extraordinary impact on others. This player is now confronting how much other people appreciated your intelligence while they were busy mansplaining basic concepts to you. They're discovering that your insights were always valued in intellectual circles they never bothered to explore. Your opinions were always sought in discussions they never bothered to include you in. Your perspectives were always respected in forums they never bothered to notice. People always came to you for advice because they trusted your judgment. Friends always valued your input because they respected your wisdom. Colleagues always sought your perspective because they appreciated your analytical skills. But this player was too busy talking over you to hear how smart you actually are. They're now learning about conversations where you provided solutions they never heard you offer. They're discovering problems you solved that they never knew existed. They're finding out about innovations you suggested that they never bothered to consider. Your intelligence was always evident to everyone except the person who was supposed to be closest to you. Your brilliance was always obvious to people who actually listened when you spoke. Your wisdom was always apparent to those who valued your thoughts over their own need to feel intellectually superior. But perhaps what's driving this player's regret most deeply is discovering how your kindness affected everyone around you. They're learning about small acts of generosity you performed that they never witnessed. They're hearing stories about support you provided that they never knew you gave. They're finding out about the comfort you offered that they never saw you provide. You were always the person who remembered birthdays without being reminded. You were always the friend who checked in during difficult times without being asked. You were always the colleague who offered help without expecting recognition. You were always the presence that made people feel seen and valued. This player is now confronting all the ways your kindness enriched other people's lives while they were taking your kindness for granted. They're realizing that your generosity toward them wasn't special treatment, it was just your natural way of being with everyone you cared about. The difference is that everyone else appreciated your kindness and reciprocated it. Everyone else recognized your generosity and honored it. Everyone else valued your caring nature and protected it. This player just consumed it without gratitude and expected it without reciprocation. Now this player is discovering the depth of loyalty you inspired in others while they were questioning your commitment to them. They're learning that people would defend you fiercely in conversations where you weren't present to defend yourself. They're finding out that friends would go to great lengths to protect your reputation when others tried to diminish it. Your loyalty to others was always reciprocated because you chose to be loyal to people who deserved it. Your dedication to relationships was always appreciated because you invested in people who valued investment. Your commitment to connections was always honored because you committed to people who understood commitment. But this Pleiadian never experienced your full loyalty because they never earned it. They never witnessed your complete dedication because they never reciprocated it. They never received your total commitment because they never demonstrated they were worthy of it. The loyalty others experienced from you was the loyalty this player could have had if they had treated you with the respect that loyalty requires. The dedication others received from you was the dedication this player forfeited when they chose games over genuine connection. What this player is really discovering is that you were always operating in an appreciation economy that they never participated in. You were always giving and receiving appreciation in relationships where appreciation was mutual. You were always investing and receiving investment in connections where investment was reciprocal. They're now seeing how other people celebrated your wins while they minimized them. They're observing how others supported your dreams while they questioned them. They're witnessing how others believed in your potential while they doubted it. The appreciation economy you were part of was always thriving around them, but they chose to operate in a scarcity economy where recognition was withheld and validation was rationed. They chose to create artificial shortage where abundance was available. This player is now realizing that their scarcity mindset didn't just affect you, it affected their ability to see the abundance of admiration that surrounded you. It affected their capacity to recognize the wealth of respect you commanded. It affected their opportunity to participate in the prosperity of appreciation you generated. You were always a thought leader in spaces where your thoughts mattered. You were always an influencer in environments where your influence was valued. You were always a decision-maker in contexts where your decisions were respected. But this player was too focused on controlling your choices to notice how much others trusted your judgment. They're now learning about opportunities that came to you because of your reputation. They're discovering about invitations you received because of your influence. They're finding out about requests for your participation because of your impact. Your influence was always real and always growing, but this player was too busy diminishing your voice to hear how loudly it resonated with others. The influence you wielded was organic, earned through consistency and authenticity rather than manipulation or force. Hold that thought for a moment. I need your attention for something very important. We're revealing everything we know about personal power, healing yourself and healing others through weekly Zoom call. No filters, no holding back. We have been quietly adding all the occult secrets we've collected over literal years of spiritual practice. The techniques and wisdom that transformed us from controlled pawns into conscious creators are now available to those ready to walk the same path. This is your invitation to join Obsidian Inner Order and support our platform so we can continue growing our megaphone to reach other chosen ones waiting for activation. By joining the Obsidian Inner Order, you're not just gaining access to forbidden knowledge, you're becoming part of a movement that's rewriting reality itself. It's a 360 win for all of us. Link is in the description. What makes this Pleiadian's realization even more profound is discovering the energy shift that occurred around you during your transformation. People started noticing something different about your presence before you even fully recognized it yourself. Your energy became more grounded, more confident, more magnetic. Others could feel this shift in rooms before you even spoke. Your conversations became deeper because you stopped accepting surface-level interactions. Your boundaries became clearer because you learned to communicate your needs without apology. Your standards became higher because you understood your worth on a cellular level. Everyone around you could sense this evolution, except the one person who should have been paying closest attention. Co-workers started seeking your opinion more frequently because your insights became sharper. Friends started confiding in you more deeply because your presence became more trustworthy. Strangers started approaching you more naturally because your energy became more welcoming. This transformation was visible to everyone operating on a higher frequency. The player who lost you was operating on such a low frequency that your ascension became invisible to them until it was too late. Your growth was like a radio signal they couldn't tune into because their receiver was broken. Now that the signal is so strong everyone else can hear it clearly, this player is frantically trying to fix their equipment. This player is now confronting all the opportunities to celebrate you that were ignored or dismissed. Every achievement you shared received a lukewarm response. Every dream you expressed was met with skepticism. Every success you experienced was minimized or attributed to luck rather than skill. You were always accomplishing things worth celebrating, but this player was too focused on their own agenda to participate in your victories. You were always growing in ways worth acknowledging, but acknowledging your growth would have required them to examine their own stagnation. The missed opportunities to honor you are now haunting this player because each one represents a choice to diminish rather than amplify your light. Each dismissal was a vote against your worth. Each minimization was a statement about their character rather than yours. Perhaps most painfully, this Pleiadian discovering how others protected your energy while they were draining it, friends who would deflect negative conversations about you before they reached your ears, family members who would shield you from criticism that wasn't constructive, colleagues who would defend your work when others questioned it unfairly. You were always surrounded by people who understood that your energy was precious and worth protecting. You were always valued by individuals who recognized that your peace was sacred and shouldn't be disturbed by negativity. You were always cherished by those who saw your sensitivity as strength rather than weakness. This protective network existed around you like an invisible force field, filtering out toxicity and amplifying positivity. This player never participated in this protection protocol because protecting you would have required them to stop being one of the sources you needed protection from. Now this player is realizing that while others were building walls to protect your energy, they were the one throwing stones at those walls. While others were creating safe spaces for your growth, they were creating chaos that stunted it. While others were nurturing your potential, they were questioning whether it existed. The admiration others felt for you existed across a spectrum that this player never bothered to explore. Intellectual admiration for your problem-solving abilities, emotional admiration for your emotional intelligence, creative admiration for your innovative thinking, spiritual admiration for your depth and wisdom. Each person in your life admired different aspects of your multifaceted nature. Some admired your humor and wit. Others admired your compassion and empathy. Still others admired your determination and resilience. Some were drawn to your creativity and imagination. Others respected your logic and analytical skills. This player only saw one dimension of who you are because seeing your full spectrum would have required them to acknowledge their own limitations. Recognizing your intellectual gifts would have meant admitting their own ignorance. Appreciating your emotional depth would have meant confronting their own superficiality. The full spectrum of your admirability was always visible to those with eyes to see and hearts to appreciate. This player's narrow vision wasn't a reflection of your limited appeal. It was evidence of their limited capacity for recognition and appreciation. This player is also discovering the ripple effect of your positive impact on others' lives. How your encouragement helped friends pursue dreams they thought were impossible. How your support helped colleagues overcome challenges they thought were insurmountable. How your belief in others helped them believe in themselves. Your influence rippled outward in ways that created positive change in multiple lives simultaneously. You were always a catalyst for growth in others because you understood how to water seeds rather than uproot plants. You were always an inspiration for improvement because you led by example rather than criticism. This player is now realizing that losing access to you means losing access to the entire ecosystem of positivity you created around yourself. Missing out on you means missing out on the elevated version of themselves they could have become through proximity to your growth-oriented energy. What's making this player's regret even more intense is the perfect timing of their awakening to your worth. Just as you've reached a level of self-awareness and confidence that makes you truly unavailable to their energy, they've reached a level of awareness about your value that makes losing you truly devastating. The universe has orchestrated this timing with surgical precision. Your ascension and their recognition are happening simultaneously but moving in opposite directions. As you rise higher in consciousness and confidence, their desperate attempts to reconnect become more futile and embarrassing. This timing isn't coincidental, it's cosmic justice. It's the universe ensuring that when this player finally sees what everyone else always saw, you're already so far beyond their frequency that their belated recognition serves as confirmation rather than invitation. The perfect timing of their awakening serves as the final period on the sentence of your growth story. Their realization becomes the exclamation point on your transformation narrative. Their regret becomes the applause for your ascension. Their regret is proof that you were right to step back. Their desperation is evidence that you were right to require better. Their embarrassment is confirmation that you were right to refuse their breadcrumbs. This entire situation is the universe's way of confirming that every choice you made to protect your energy was correct. You were chosen long before they realized you were worth choosing. You were special long before they understood you were special. You were extraordinary long before they discovered you were extraordinary. Their recognition doesn't create your worth, it just confirms what was always true. What began with someone playing games with your heart ends with the universe playing chess with their ego. What started with them underestimating your worth ends with them overestimating their chances. What commenced with their blindness to your value concludes with their desperate attempts to reclaim what they never properly claimed in the first place. The person who didn't take time to see your background is now studying every detail of your present. The one who didn't bother to explore your social media is now scrolling through years of posts. The player who thought you'd always be available is now panicking about your unavailability. Their regret is just the universe's way of putting a period at the end of a sentence that was already complete. Their embarrassment is just cosmic confirmation of a truth you already knew. Their desperation is just external validation of an internal reality you already embodied. Now they know what everyone else already knew. Now they see what everyone else already saw. Now they want what everyone else already wanted. But you have learned the most important lesson of all. Your worth was never dependent on their recognition. That is why their regret feels so hollow and your peace feels so full. That is why their desperation feels so empty and your joy feels so complete. That is why their embarrassment feels so fitting and your growth feels so right. You were always meant to outgrow people who couldn't see your worth. You were always meant to ascend beyond those who treated you as ordinary. You were always meant to become unavailable to those who made you feel unworthy. And this chosen one is exactly how your story was always meant to unfold. The player who didn't realize how admired you were by others has become the final witness to your complete transformation. Their regret is your victory. Their desperation is your freedom. Their embarrassment is your vindication. The cosmic joke that began this story ends with cosmic justice. The person who couldn't see your worth when you were right in front of them now gets to watch from a distance as the whole world celebrates what they were too blind to appreciate. And you get to enjoy the view from the top of the mountain you climbed while they were still trying to figure out which direction was up.